Thursday night, 8:00.
Thursday night.
We're live. Welcome to episode 22, Matt, of the what the hell is this show called? The InfoSec to Insanity podcast.
Yes, sir. Welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. Our topic tonight is the cybersecurity job market shit show. Did you know it was a shit show?
It sure seems like a shit show. I don't know how much truth or non-truth there is to it, but there's definitely some stuff happening. Don't know if it's unique to us or what.
There should be some good discussion.
Yeah, I think so.
But before we dive in, Matt, how you doing? What you got a new tattoo? Did you jump on any planes this week? What'd you do?
Yeah, so since the last week we got Evan got me addicted to tattoos now, so I'm rocking that.
Oh, I'm the one to blame. How much have you spent on tattoos now?
Over $1,000.
I don't want to see your cat's ass.
Yeah, I got to box that off this time. Did that and had my ISSA stuff that I help run here in Milwaukee. We had a meeting, pretty successful.
Tell me about your ISSA. Is this the ISSA Milwaukee chapter?
Yes. So ISSA is the International System Security Organization. There's local chapters everywhere around the world, all over. Some states have multiple chapters. I help run the Milwaukee chapter here. So we bring in speakers, sponsors for events that help keep us going. If you want to speak, let me know. We're looking for speakers all the time.
Yeah, but don't speak bullshit.
We get vendors. They come in and they talk a lot of, buzzword bingo. Kind of, they got to appease to their marketing people and all of that. But I think what I try to do, if sponsors are talking, is to provide a platform to just learn about products in a non-invasive way. So you're like volunteering to come and learn about it versus them blowing up your inbox and like trying to stalk you. So I think.
And what do you do? Helpful. What do you have a role with the ISSA chapter there in Milwaukee? What's your role?
So right now I'm the secretary. We are having elections, and I'll probably be the vice president come next month.
You're becoming powerful, Matt.
Maybe. I don't know.
What does the secretary do?
So right now, I mainly help with the marketing emails, social media postings, help the guys close the sponsor processes, help track speakers, all of that logistic type stuff, help run the Google suite and train the older generation on Google because everyone knows Microsoft. So that's always fun for everybody.
That's cool, man. So a successful event. What day was that?
So we have our events every second Tuesday, Patch Tuesday, because we don't want to work when they patch.
You don't want to what?
We don't want to work on Patch Day. You don't need to do that.
Oh.
Yeah. So we host that on Patch Tuesday every month here in New Berlin at the Ale House. If you're in Milwaukee, stop on by or check out our website. I'll put it in the chat.
What's the weather like in Milwaukee?
Stupid right now. It's like 0, and we just had like 7 inches of snow.
No shit.
We're supposed to get like 5 to 6 more tomorrow. So.
It's 70 here in Mexico.
Yeah, that's why I want to come visit.
Yeah, and I think you're gonna bring some of your coworkers. Yeah.
That's what I'm working on, trying to get them planned up. It's harder when you have to plan with other people.
Yeah, no shit. That is true. My one of our customers at FR Secure, a longtime customer, big company, he played a big role in getting us kind of off the ground in the early days. He hit me up, and he's going to be coming down with his sponsor.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we had a face-to-face meeting, not really face-to-face, but online meeting.
Has he been down before?
No. And I don't think I've ever met him face to face. I think it was, other analysts at FR Secure that had worked with him. So he was like, man, I can't wait to I guess whatever people
hang
do
out with
when
you
they
because you're
come
such
talk
a
with
cool
me.
dude.
Such a cool dude, right? Speaking of that, I started therapy this week.
Oh, really? This
Yep.
I gotta hear.
Yeah.
Did you
Yeah.
did you volunteer to go? Did I convince you? Did Marlis convince you? What's the
No,
skinny?
I think it's just a series of things, man. We talk a lot about mental health. I'm a big guy. I am a big guy, but I'm big on mental health. I think it's one of those things that we don't talk enough about. I think the stigma's bullshit. I've lost 5 friends over the years to, suicide. We talk about burnout. We just did an episode a couple, episodes ago about mental health. Was talking with my wife, I'm like, I got all this shit going for me. You know what I mean? I live in paradise. I don't have any money. Money's never a problem. Got a great family. Business is doing well. What the fuck? What am I missing? You know what I mean? I don't feel like
Fulfillment
happy.
or joy?
Yeah. And it's not because I'm not grateful for what I've got. I'm super grateful for it. There's something missing. And so I started talking to my wife, and, with the years of being sober, she's like, maybe you got this dry alcoholic thing going on. I mean, it was a culmination of things where I was, you know what, everybody should see a damn therapist. Why the fuck am I not seeing one? So started that this week. I'm really excited about it. We're doing CBT. Do you do CBT, that cognitive behavioral therapy?
I haven't. I don't do that regularly, but I have done it at the VA, and that was actually pretty cool
Yeah.
to see.
Yeah. I
Like the
started that.
visual feedback was nice.
Yeah. And, it's, I'm doing it through, so I did a whole bunch of research before I started, and going through online-therapy.com. My
So it's like
therapist,
remote.
yeah, my therapist is Steve. Steve's a pretty cool cat, doing a bunch of worksheets, just trying to get answers to things. I think therapy is, I've always been a proponent of it, just never really dove in and took
You're
took
walking the
advantage of it.
walk now.
Yeah, because I think part of me too, now that I've been in it this week, I'm like, I kind of feel like a hypocrite, because I was always preaching it.
Hmm.
But then, you look in the mirror, it's like, man, I got issues too. I mean, like everybody's got issues. And where are you taking those issues? How are you processing those things? We've all been, not all, but a lot of us, been around this industry for a while. We've gone through burnout before. It's lonely. I don't know if you ever run into this. It's lonely in this industry sometimes because, you try to talk to your spouse about it, try to talk to your family about it. Well, they can't relate. They can't
They just
relate to what
don't
it
get
is. Yeah. And even within our industry, I think there's a lot of people who are kind of in this industry for the wrong reasons. And so you try to share, some of the frustrations you're having, and they're like, well, why don't you just do this? Why don't you just sell more shit that people don't need? And I'm like,
Buy more
so it's hard
stuff.
to find
Yeah.
sometimes people that can just relate to the shit you're going through.
I could see this online therapy working for you. It doesn't work for me. I need a face to face. So I
Mm-hmm.
drive across town to go.
Yeah.
I think it helps me get out as well. But
When
I tried it a couple times.
I like being transparent too. So I'll share my experiences, man. Other than the deep shit, that you want to keep probably private. But yeah, I'll share a lot. I'll probably, record some videos and shit, because I think the thing that was the tipping point for me is, I was having a discussion with my wife, and there's a lot of people that rely on me. There's a lot of people that, I influence the way they feel. I mean, shit, you got 100 some odd employees that, are dependent upon my decisions in a lot of ways. So, yeah, I think if you want the people around you to be happy, that's really the motivator. And I think, sharing the experience with other, maybe it'll motivate some other people to go out and get the therapy that they need. I think everybody should have therapy.
I think that's what makes you such a good person too, is you feel that way of all the people,
Yeah.
that you're talking about and referencing. Other people are just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Or maybe they are and they're just not expressing it or dealing with it. I don't know.
Yeah. I wrote Did I write a blog post yesterday about ignorance? Yeah, maybe. I think a lot of people just kind of go through life ignorant. You just ignore the
Not
shit.
self-aware.
Yeah. Yeah. You go through, and we've certainly run into that all the time with information security, where people are just installing more shit, buying more technology, throwing more technology at shit. It doesn't work. And then, you're just kind of ignorant. You just, rather than learning the basics and applying the basics, which sometimes can be a lot of work, you just, because I expect this therapy, I expect it to be work. I expect it to not just like take some damn pill and it's going to be gone.
That's what I went into therapy with the first few times, and I got like so frustrated. I switched therapists. Yeah, definitely not the thing.
So I'm excited, man. Stay tuned for more updates on that. I will share. I'll be as transparent as I can with what I'm going through with the therapy thing, and hopefully, some people will hear it, see it, and if only one person got inspired enough, motivated enough to go see a therapist and make their life better, it's all worth it. So we'll do that shit. All right. So what else the fuck's going on? Working on the CISSP mentor program. I think there's a few thousand people signed up for that already. That'll be cool. Hacking shit. Broke some stuff, but I fixed it. Most of it. I don't think I fixed all of it, but some of it.
Have you been swimming?
Swimming?
You bought that tether thing. Have you been using it?
I went to I went in the pool. Here, let's do one thing right now. So because I got another thing that we're going to do. We're going to share later on in this show. We're going to share a cybersecurity confession or two, which is essentially
kind of nervous.
Either like your biggest cybersecurity fail, in your career, a security myth maybe that you believed for a long time, and the naivety of that, something like that. We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
After we get through the topic for tonight, but then also share something about yourself, Matt, that nobody knows. That somebody listening will be like, "What the fuck? Really?" Can you think of something? That get you off guard?
Yeah, you really put me on the spot there, brother.
Well, I'll share one. I'll share one with you because you mentioned swimming. One thing that a lot of people don't know about me is I was a 2-time state champion swimmer. I swam Division I full ride scholarship at the University of Minnesota. That was 65 pounds ago. Well, I'm 54 now too, so that was.
It's allowed.
Shit.
Yeah. That's not as bad as it could be.
No.
I'm definitely way different on that scale set of stuff.
No, but you got something special about you, man, that people will be like, "What? Really? That dude?" And I know some things that you've shared with me, but this is your time to shine, man.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't play sports in high school, but I played soccer in middle school, and I think early on I experienced some tragedy. So I hit some depression in middle school or high school. So I didn't play sports, but playing soccer, did the traveling league thing, and we lost like every game. And I actually scored like 2 or 3 points for the other team because I played defense.
Oh no shit! You put the ball in your own net.
So when it would be up in the air, I try to kick my leg up to block it, and it just bounce off the shin guard and redirect. The goalie would always get mad.
It's funny as hell. So
no, just don't
do like
touch
a Pele move. Yeah.
On defense, not
That's
a good plan.
Funny. No, I played, and I played sports in high school. One of the things that I've always hated is seeing people get taken advantage of. So I was in sports, so I was kind of in this crowd. When I went to high school, is Minnetonka High School, very cliquey, and I grew up in a military house and kind of moved to Minnetonka, around middle school time. So I wasn't part of the cliquey shit. but I was good at sports, so that was an automatic in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I hated like bullying, so I liked bullying the bullies. And I might have told you this story. There was one guy, his name was Bill Bader. And so the way I would bully him is anytime he was picking on somebody, I called him Master. Yes, Master. So it was Master Bader. Yeah.
Did he get furious?
That was, oh, dude, he would get so pissed off. But you couldn't really do anything about it. Because that's the thing that bullies capitalize on is, your emotions, your fear. If you stand up to most of them, they're big pussycats. They'll just back off. And that's, pretty much what he did, which was good because then it set an example for the people who he was trying to bullying that, Bill ain't as cool as he says he is.
He ain't all that. Yeah.
No.
Punk. Pull his punk card. It works 90% of the time, but you might run into trouble sometimes.
Yeah, you might get your ass kicked, but how many times have you grown from getting your ass kicked?
Yeah, probably every time.
I mean, there's a lot of growth in pain.
We talk about it a lot.
Yeah. So I remember the one time I really got my ass kicked that was the most embarrassing time was Minnetonka had this rivalry with another school called Mound, right? Mound High School. And we had a saying in Minnetonka that Mound chicks were easy. and the Mound guys get pissed off about that and whatever. So there was a fight, and it was like one of those like 50s kind of fights, where it's like two
in the parking lot.
Yeah, it's like the Jets versus the whatever the fuck. And this little twerpy dude, like half my size, was talking smack. And I'm like, I can totally take this guy. This is going to make me look like a rock star in front of all my friends. So we started kind of going at it. He wrapped me up like a damn pretzel, embarrassed the shit out of me. I come to find out later that he's a 2-time state champion wrestler in Minnesota.
Yeah, I'll get you.
Embarrassed the hell out of me. So that was a great growth opportunity. I got my ass kicked. And then I realized, like, yeah, don't judge a book by its cover. If you're going to engage in something like that, you have to be prepared to get your ass kicked, a worst case. But it'd probably be better to do some OSINT ahead of time, make sure that this is actually somebody you can beat.
Right.
Yeah.
That's where the meta glasses could come in. You could look at the dude and tell him, oh, he's a wrestler.
I could say, hey, Meta, who is this motherfucker?
Yeah.
Like, that's a 2-time state champion. His name was Matt LaJoy. Never forget it. And I think since that time, the only time I ever got in any other fights was back in my, when I was drinking, back in my drinking days, because you're never thinking straight when you're doing that.
Nope.
But yeah, I'll never forget it. And it reminds me every time, like when I have like road rage or something, somebody cuts me off. I don't know who's in that car, man. I might get shot. I might get wrapped up like a pretzel by like Matt LaJoy in front of my wife and kids. That wouldn't be cool. So
ain't worth it.
I'm just going to chill because I can't do any OSINT on the dude because he's in a car.
Right.
I don't even know who he is, So yeah,
it's a good lesson to learn. Knocked the fuck out in basic training. We were doing pugil sticks, and they had the head thing on, and we had one of them. It was called the Thunderdome. So like. It was on top of this mud pile, and one guy over here, and we had to run in, me in the middle, and I'm thinking, all right, we're going to meet in the middle, then we're going to spar. Well, apparently there's no rules, and this dude is faster than me, so got to be faster. I'm running in there. I don't even make it into the middle. The other guy had like already made it in and clear through to the middle onto my side and was waiting for me. Wham! Flat on my back, stars, everything just knocked out cold. It was
there you go.
I think they did it to me on purpose because I was like a fat body problem dude in basic training. So like they always mess with me. But that's what I tell myself instead of just being slow.
Yeah, there you go, man. Always something to learn. All right, let's get on topic now. Okay. It's good to check in with you, man, because we haven't talked much this week. It's good to just kind of settle in a little bit. I do this with most of my meetings too. When people invite me to meetings, Like,
What's been going on?
don't
rush
invite me to a
into it.
meeting where you just want to get shit done like right away, because I'm always more interested in who you are as a person than I am in trying to get shit done. At least
That's something I can
that's the
probably learn from you.
priorities.
I'm always trying to push to get shit done.
Yeah. Well, you're a Marine. What do you expect?
Yeah.
All right. So the title of the blog post, and like last show, if you go to evanfrancen.com, you'll find the blog post. The blog post is why the cybersecurity job market is a total shit show. And so this was inspired. I get probably, it varies. Sometimes it's just a couple of calls. Sometimes it's half dozen calls from just various people, random people. Sometimes it's people that knew me. Some people, it's people that don't. And asking if I just got an email today from a guy I hadn't talked to in like 8 years, and he's looking for a job. And he's very talented. He's been around for a while. He's in the game for the right reasons. He's a super cool guy. And so you engage, you're like, yeah, man, I'll put the word out. I'll look around. I'll see what I can do. And then, now that we've engaged on this, I also want to know, how's it working out for you? A lot of times people will apply to a job at FR Secure, and I wish we could hire all the good people, but you only got so many, people you can hire. So you check in with them later and you just hear all the frustration. It's like, well, I keep reading in places how we have such a cybersecurity shortage, talent shortage problem in this industry. And I know at least a couple of dozen people that are very fucking
4
talented.
million is the shortage, supportedly, according to the World Economic Forum.
World Economic
globally.
Forum says 4 million open positions.
Mm-hmm.
Then why aren't these positions getting filled? I personally, and I'm only one guy, because I also, from what I understand, there's like 5-6 million cybersecurity professionals. And I'm just one of those. And I know 24 people that are looking for jobs, and you're telling me they've got all these open positions. Why the fuck aren't they getting filled?
Yeah. So I'm wondering, is the claim reality or not? Is there really that many jobs? Or, back to, are people in it for the right money? Are we posting jobs to hype up things we're trying to sell to get more VC money? Or I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I like to simplify shit. I think we overcomplicate, so many things. And I think one of the ways you can, show your expertise in something is your ability to simplify it and explain it to people in a way that they'll understand it. Because I've always viewed this, not always, but this was the motivation to starting the CISSP mentor program back in 2010. I was told we had this severe shortage of people in our industry, and my mission is to fix broken shit in this industry. So it's like, all right, well, let's do some free training.
I gotta imagine that just pisses you off. You've been doing this for 15 years, probably hundreds of thousands of people trained, and there's still this millions gap. Like, how the fuck is that even possible?
Right. Well, and over those 15, 16 years, one of the things you learn as you go, right? In the longer you're in this industry, if you're not an egotist, narcissist, if you're somebody who's actually paying attention, open to ideas, learning, you do learn, and you learn a lot about what's actually going on in this industry. And that's a bullshit number. Honestly, that's a complete bullshit number, as are most numbers in our industry. Most of the studies and things that are done in our industry are done by people with a bias. So like, you'll see a lot of spam studies and things. Well, it's from people who are usually selling some kind of spam solution or, antivirus. So it's always sponsored by somebody who's trying to sell you shit. And so they're going to be exaggerated. That's one thing. My father taught me, thank God, he taught me to consider the source. So every study you read in our industry that's got numbers, don't just take it at face value. And don't put it in your damn slide decks for your executive presentations either, because you're misleading people. Those studies, unless, you know, when you do the research and you find numbers with studies and things, and, you know, you use discernment and you find out, well, actually this study is pretty solid. It's, you know, the sample error rate is low. It's done by somebody who doesn't have a bias potentially. Maybe it's good numbers, but I think too many people in our industry just take it at face value. You know, don't question it. Because, all right, so there's that.
They don't know any better. Like, there's no, coming into the industry, right? Like, we call it the industry, but it's really just a freaking job. You're working for a company normally, whether it's yourself or, you know, an enterprise. There's no, like, this is how sales works or this is how marketing works. Like, none of that is explained to you. You have to get out, hit the pavement by going to conferences, networking events, meeting people before you really start to process how that actually works. And that takes time. You can't get that overnight. No matter what anybody on Twitter or whatever is going to tell you.
Right. Well, we just talked about getting your ass kicked. That's how I've learned almost everything, is by getting my ass kicked. You know, when I started in this industry, if you look at the industry today to when I started in this industry, which was, you know, 1990, basically, this industry was so in its infancy. And that's one of the frustrating things, is because when you look at some of the shit we're doing today, it's the same shit that we've already tried that didn't work back then. I don't know why we're still doing so much of the stupid shit. But, you know, it was, you took risks. You know, I've learned a lot more from breaking shit than I've ever learned from following some damn manual or a framework. You know, break it and then put it back together again. What better way to learn? And back in the 90s, early 90s, you didn't have fucking Google.
You had the RTFM.
You didn't have shit. Yeah, read the fucking manual. You had the manual. But even the manual, you know, there was, when I mentioned in that last podcast or the podcast before, you know, when I took down that defense contractor because I was trying to switch out a failed drive and a RAID array, there was no manual. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. And I took the whole thing down the whole company was down for like a day. I don't know how much it cost them, but what are you going to do? I mean, there's nobody else that can fix this. Obviously I can't, but who the fuck are you going to call? It's not the damn manual. Call the manufacturer. The manufacturer doesn't know how to fix it either. It's like, okay, well, this is going to be a hell of a lot of trial and error, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what it ended up being. But in all of that, the things that you learned was how to work under extreme pressure, you know, like really extreme pressure. So then when you do incident response work today, it's like, I mean, I take it seriously, but, you know, the pressure ain't going to hurt me. I'm going to live through this unless I do freak out. And then you also learned how to troubleshoot shit and how to debug things.
That's, you mentioned that, like, it sounds like everybody in the, you know, enterprise or the industry should be doing that. And I would think that too, but that doesn't happen from what I see. And I take it for granted because that's what the military is all about, troubleshooting high pressure all the time. And it's like just different.
Yeah. Well, the thing about the military is you had a lot more direction and documentation too, right? I mean, you followed the damn manual. There was a manual for how to do stuff. And then when things fell outside of the manual, you know, you had to rely on your troubleshooting skills to get those things back up and running. But then there was usually a debrief afterwards where it was now part of the manual that, you know, you fix the shit.
We would go back and spend a week packing it and unpacking it correctly so it didn't happen again.
Right.
Or inventory it again and again.
And so you have a lot of people, I think, working in this industry who have not been through that before. And we still have a lot of the same problems that we had back in the early 90s. It's the fundamentals. It's the basics, you know.
I'm trying to understand how this book, The Cuckoo's Egg, I don't know when it was written, but it's about a incident that happened in the 80s, and it was about accounting fraud, I guess, and it was all about identity. Identity was the core of like how it happened. How did we get so far off track, and now we're coming back to, oh, security is about identity? Like, that's what was talked about a long time ago. Almost, yeah. What the hell?
It's very frustrating for, I think, old timers who are in this game for the right reason to see this, you know. And I swear you say the same thing over and over and over again, where I get tired of hearing myself say it. You know, I mean, like, fuck, I've already said this like 10 times. Do I really need to say it again? And then you say it again, and then somebody's like, oh, that makes perfect sense. You're like, thanks.
Yeah.
You know, well, here, you know, and then I've said lots of times too, I can't believe people pay me to do the shit I do today, because I mean, I already told you how to do it, and it's not rocket science. A lot of it's just, you know, common sense, but a lot of it comes down to also to your perspective. If you haven't been through the shit before, you know, it's going to seem new. It's going to seem kind of foreign. But on this job market thing, break it down to something really simple. It's supply and demand. So you have a demand, the open positions, and you have a supply. And somewhere there's a disconnect.
Do you think it's a straight disconnect in the number of jobs, or do you think some job seekers are creating their own disconnect? For example, like they're trying to find the exact same job, or you have new people trying to get unrealistic salaries.
Yeah. So if you know, if when you break it out into two, the supply and the demand. So on the demand side, you have job position, you know, after job position, where you're asking for shit. It's unicorn type shit.
You list every tool out or process that your previous person knew how to do.
Yeah. And you put an overemphasis on certifications, a less of an emphasis on what you can actually fucking do. You know, passing the CISSP, great. It doesn't say anything. I mean, it's not going to demonstrate that you can do a damn thing. It demonstrated that at the time you took the damn test, you knew enough to pass the exam, and you have 5 years experience. 5 years of what kind of experience? I would rather have no experience than 5 years of shit experience. 5 years of bad habits that I'm going to have to undo. You know, so what's the CISSP going to do for me? I mean, I guess maybe it demonstrates some level of commitment. There's maybe some level of defensibility, right? So let's say there's a breach and somebody questions my, you know, the people that I had on staff at the time that were responding to the breach, and, you know, opposing counsel says, well, did any of your guys have CISSPs? You're like,
Well,
no. I mean,
how
it
did
does
that
lend some
even
credibility, but not enough
how'd that
for me
even
to
get to
pay for it.
there? So if you're saying, you know, and I think a lot of people can acknowledge what you said, it's just an exam, you studied it, you memorized it, like you don't really have any experience. It could be any experience. How did that equate to being reputable in a court case?
Well, because court cases always come down to credibility. Everybody's going to challenge credibility, and lawyers don't know shit. I mean, honestly,
They
we should
just
have a
see
lawyer.
letters and they're like, that's important.
Well, yeah, I mean, we should have a lawyer come on the show, because it would be really interesting to challenge on some of the bullshit that I mean, it is what it is, right? So, like, let's say you're going to call an expert witness, you know, and you're going to go over their credentials, and one of the things will be MBA, CISSP, you know, whatever. It's the gold standard in our industry, so it's got this level of credibility. Now, people in the industry who know better, who know what the CISSP is, I mean, it's important. I think there's value in it, but we overemphasize it on the demand side. We also have, I mean, over the years,
people trying to profit off of it,
there's that too,
building
for sure.
programs and shit. Yeah.
Because like I've worked with, I mean, over the years, I don't know, hundreds, I don't think thousands, because the math doesn't work well for that, but hundreds of different companies, small, big, consulting them. And out of those, so let's say for the demand side, right, I know that I need a position hired, right? So that would come down to roles and responsibilities. Specifically, what role does this position do and what will be their responsibilities? So that, leads to your job description. But I'm going to have a shit job description if I don't understand kind of where this fits in the overall security program. So I may think that this is the position I need because everybody else is doing it, or I've got a thing, so that's where I need to spend my next information security dollar. But if you're not in context, if it's not providing value to the business, how do you know that, right? And so you have to build out, roles and responsibilities if you really want to get good on the demand side. So you can tell by reading a lot of the job descriptions and job requisitions that who's ever asking for this position has no idea what the fuck they're asking for.
HR gets their fingers in there and copy paste what we need to find that person that posted the first original crappy one and punch them in the face because they're all just copying and pasting that one.
You're totally true, man. There's copying and pasting, and then you got the gatekeeper thing, right? So HR is usually the gatekeeper. You're probably not going to talk to the hiring manager right out of the gate because you're going to have maybe a few hundred resumes that come in the door, right? Somebody's got to gatekeep that, weed out the ones that are obvious, not a fit for your job description. But if it starts out like something that's insecure, something that's shitty at the beginning, shitty at the core, is going to be, those errors just propagate. It's going to be shit. You're just going to get shit anyway. You know what I mean? It's like, you have to do this right. The thing that pisses me off on the demand side is you're fucking around with people's lives. These are people that are good people, highly skilled, that if I had a big enough team, I would take them on for sure. And why are they not getting hired? Why are people missing out? And, I think a lot of people on the demand side, and it's not all of them, but I think too many on the demand side don't know what they're actually looking for. So, on the supply side, then you've also got, I think lots of problems on the supply side because people are still trying to figure out, well, how do I get into this industry? And you're getting a lot of shitty advice. There are some people saying you have to have a bachelor's degree to get in this industry. Bullshit. You have to have a tech degree to get in this industry. Bullshit. That you can, go get a bachelor's degree or a master's in cybersecurity and immediately get hired for $150,000, $200,000 a year.
Yeah, like that
bullshit
ad I showed you where they said take this thing over the weekend and be a master in cyber. Yeah.
Right.
Ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, man.
Inflated expectations too. Like, so it's not just on that side, but on the hiring side, if there's an entry position, how many years of experience do you need to have? And I think it's the terminology that deters people because we all get like a self-psychosis, or I don't know what the proper terminology would be, but like we're scared that we're not qualified instead of just applying.
Yeah. Well, that's part of growth, right? I mean, I've always wanted to take on things that are outside of my comfort zone, things that I've never done before, because how the fuck else am I ever going to learn how to do it?
You don't hire you for what you do. You get hired for what you can do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, on the supply side, on the demand side, I'm hiring somebody that can provide value to the mission. Right. And just like you would in any other market that you go out to find something to supply that, I want the best fit for the cheapest price. It would be, I mean, it would be stupid for me to have two people with identical skill sets. One wants $300,000 a year. The other one wants 150. You know, I may really, really like you. You might be the best, awesome
It's still
person
business.
I've ever met. But yeah, I mean, dude, you're priced yourself out of the market here. You know, you're going to have to reset a little bit, maybe.
Do you
But
think
on the
that has anything to do with it? I know, like during COVID, like when all the remote thing went up, like it seemed like everybody was getting jobs 200K, 250, like it was just ridiculous. And now we're starting to level out and people aren't willing to compromise.
yeah, I think
Because
that, yeah,
business
there's
always
definitely part of
wins.
that too.
At the end of the day, you may think you're special. I think you want to work from home and all that, but business is always going to win.
It's always providing value, right? I ask myself that all the time. Like, am I providing any value here? If I'm not, then I should either figure out a way to provide value or just prepare myself to go somewhere else, fit in somewhere else, because that's the whole point, right? Providing, and there's monetary value, there's intrinsic value, there's all kinds of different values that you bring to a team. But, you know, if I were hiring, I would take the person who provides the most value at the cheapest price. That's the way it works. And so I think a lot of people are going into the job market, making themselves available at the job market without that kind of mentality. Like, what value can I provide to this company? Well, let me show you all the ways I can provide value. And I've got things to demonstrate that, right? It's not certification. I mean, sure, I've got the certifications you asked for, but let me show you my portfolio of work that I've done and where I've done this before. And you can see that from what I've done before, how this is a great stepping stone for me to grow with, you know, and provide more value in your organization, assuming, you know, this is fertile ground that I'm walking on. You know, if I'm
And
coming
you
into,
empower me to do stuff.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, do you want a fucking rock star or do you want a yes man? And that's fine. If you want a yes man, hopefully your fucking job description shows that.
Yeah, I'll just go this way instead.
Yeah, because there's also, you know, you look at that supply side on, okay, so how are we building people to fill the needs, you know, in our industry? You know, we've
Lack
got
of training.
lack of training and or shitty training. You know,
So,
there's a lot of people coming out of college that I would never touch with a 10-foot pole,
oh yeah,
because when you talk about value, that you coming out of school with more academic stuff than practical stuff. And some of the academic stuff that you've learned is bullshit stuff because you learned it from another academic who's never fucking done it before. And so,
or they just want to be hackers and break stuff. I I get that we need that as part of the balance, right? But I
right.
think we've gone too far that way, and we're trying to. It's overemphasized, and schools haven't realized that they need to teach the other side.
Right. I mean, I've talked to enough college professors, you know, teaching cybersecurity classes. There's some really good ones. There's some really shitty ones, and there's no standardization. So, you know, from one school to another school. So, you know, if I'm hiring, I'm really going to have to evaluate, you know, this school to find out what the fuck they do and shit like that. But when I've talked to some of these professors, especially the ones that aren't good, they get so damn defensive. Like, I won't, like, I'm not even saying that you're not good. Just let me give you some suggestions as somebody who's in the market. You know, we do hire people. We pay them really well. We have very low attrition rates. The people that do leave FR Secure usually come back. We call them boomerangs. So let me just give you some advice, man. I think it's going to help you, and you can demonstrate to your students how you're going to give them a career better, you know, whatever. They get so damn defensive. Like, who are you to tell me how to teach my damn class? Well, why did you go there? I mean, I'm not saying you're
I'm
You
hiring your
suck.
people. That's what.
Well, and you ask, and I've asked numerous college professors too, like, what's your biggest challenge, in your job? And they're like, well, getting our students internships. I'm like, why do you think that's a problem? I'll tell you what I think, but I want to hear what you think first. And they're like, well, whatever. The reason is the market doesn't see value in your fucking interns.
Mm-hmm.
If I saw value in your interns, I would take more interns, but, and why don't they have the value? Well, it's either, poor academics and, or just a lack of practical, application. I would rather hire a pen tester that, like, you get a lot of people that, especially a younger crowd that wants, I want to be a pen tester. What should I start? I'm like, hack yourself. What do you mean hack yourself? Hack your house. Hack the shit in your house. Secure your shit. And while you're doing it, build a portfolio. Set up a GitHub repository and start, storing your shit there and your code. So then you can demonstrate, because TCP/IP is TCP/IP. Hacking is hacking. Whether I'm applying it at AT&T or Wells Fargo, or I'm applying it in my own house, it's the same logic. It's the same troubleshooting. It's the same break shit, fix shit. That's what I'd be interested in. And the three things that we've always held true on, if you want to be great in this industry and you want to be in high demand, it's three things. It's intangibles, the shit that we can't teach you. Like, you've either got gifts or you don't have gifts. If you're completely not a tech person, why the fuck do you want to be a pen tester? Maybe GRC is a better place. Maybe audit's a better place. Maybe governance is a better place, So, and you also need to be dependable. You need to be honest. You can't be an asshole. We have the no dickhead rule. So
Get run
that's
over
number
with
one,
truck.
intangibles. Number two is knowledge. You can learn this shit lots of different ways. And you got to be really discerning if you're going to be learning this shit from other people in this industry, because there's a lot of people who have been in this industry for a long time that are teaching other students, but they're teaching them shit. I mean, if you want to be, honest, I've seen a lot of
Bad
veterans,
advice.
20 plus years in this industry, that are telling people how to build security programs. It's like, that is never going to fucking work. That's just a whole nother thing. But so be discerning on the knowledge that you're obtaining. Remember, the
Always
computer's only...
think to what you said earlier. Whenever someone is talking to you, they are talking from their perspective and their experience,
Right.
and that might not be true. It's true for them,
Right.
but it doesn't mean it is the truth.
Right.
I'm wondering.
Anybody who's honest knows that their truth is constantly changing. I've been in this industry for 35 fucking years, and my truth is always changing. I'm learning new things. People are like, well, what did you think of this? I'm like, fuck, I didn't think of that. Putting risk into perspective will make you much better in this industry. So knowledge, and then the third thing is experience. You just can't rush that. That just takes time.
Yes.
Everybody wants to be a damn CISO. It's like, why the fuck do you want to be a CISO?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what it's like to be a CISO. I don't know if you really want to be a CISO.
I said that in the first 5 or 6 interviews when I was, early on. I want to be a CISO in 5 years. Everyone was just like, yeah, cool. That's what you're supposed to say. But yeah, it doesn't really make sense. There's a lot. I want to talk about training for a second.
Training?
Yeah. So because I'm a hiring manager now, and I kind of see from a different perspective. I used to be frustrated about training because my background is the military. You join, you get trained for 8 to 9 months, then you start doing your job. In the corporate world, all right, we need you to come in, hit the ground running. We don't got no training program for you. So it's almost like we're setting everybody up to fail. Well, not fail, but sink or swim, right? But now on the hiring side, I can understand, oh, I had a person that did this, these things, those are things I need to keep running. So I'm looking for a person that can do those things, but I also still want to teach people. And it's like conflicting now.
Yeah. Yeah. You definitely have to.
But
We love
maybe
training.
that's why you need a +1 on your team. But it's hard to get that budget right.
Yeah. I mean, I guess every situation is a little bit different, but if you set most of our pen test, not most, a lot of our pen testers, if you just take the pen testing team at FR Secure, started out as associate vulnerability scanner people. You know what I mean? It was just like, and you train them, you create a path. Like, you want to be this is how you get there. And I think most of not most, but again, a lot of the team on the tech side and the non-tech side grew up with us. If you plan it well, you know, uh, knowing, kind of how you're going to grow in the next year and budget well, you can create that pipeline yourself of training people.
Do
But also on the
do
hiring
you,
manager side, if you have a specific job that needs to be completed and you have some time to slot that in, you can always take somebody junior and grow them into that role potentially.
yeah, I think that'd be the ideal plan. Um, I'm
Yeah.
wondering, do you think it it's easier for you and your company to have that path because you are a tech company? So it would seem to me like your entire HR team is focused on tech, whereas I'm in manufacturing and the tech team is like a sliver of all the other things. Do you think that makes it easier?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. So, but you have a vision, as a leader in your own company, you know, as the security leader in your own company, you have a vision for what your team should eventually look like. I would think, you've done the basics in terms of, risk assessments, and you understand how this team eventually needs to look. It may not, it's going to take time for us to build it out. But as you're doing that, you can probably build training pieces, to fit. Because if you're just building it out, maybe it's more of a junior sort of build out right now. It's a great opportunity for somebody to learn on the job, and building out those pieces potentially. I mean, I think every role is going to be a little bit different, but I would much rather train somebody. For me, on my teams, I'd much rather train somebody than hire somebody. There are times when you have to hire a senior player, but I'd much rather grow them because I have so much more trust in that team, in those players, because I know how they were trained. I know
Yep.
the shit that we drilled into them. Whereas sometimes when you take the senior guys, you get some ego that comes with it. You get a lot of untraining that you need to do. Like, I can't even tell you how many times we've always done it this way. Well, I don't give two fucks about that. This is the way we do it, and this is the reason why we do it. And the reason why I say I don't give two fucks is because this is the 55th time you fucking told me this. Make a case for why we should switch to doing it your way. And then I think, there's some legitimacy to it. But if it's just because you've always done it this way, that's almost a disease on your team. That's all you're doing is like inventory management or something. I mean, something that's just static, that doesn't really change. I mean, the inventory will change, but the processes to manage the inventory may not change much. I mean, if you've got some kind of a static kind of role like that, then
Ain't no one doing asset management.
yeah,
Get real.
that's the basics, right?
Yeah. That's like in the military though, like I was, mid-level management per se, rock star, then you go to a different unit. No one knows you. You come in as that senior, and everyone else is like, "Who the fuck is this guy? What has he done?" And you got to like build all of that up again, and it takes time because you're not going through the stuff with them.
Yeah.
But it's painful.
Well, because another thing you got to account for in hiring is culture. You know, when we grow together, I mean, we're in the same culture. I mean, there's definitely a culture fit. But one of the challenges you run into sometimes when you're hiring senior people is they're kind of set in their ways sometimes, and you might get a really bad culture fit. We've had that happen a couple times. And culture to us is like, it's super duper important. We're very protective of the culture. So when there's a lack of a culture fit, we make that move really quick. We let them go. Well, I mean, why drag it out? It's just going to hurt you more in the long run.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's another thing with, hiring too. There's this lack of like decisiveness. Like you're looking for the perfect fit. There's never a perfect fit. Never. I mean, we're human beings, you know what I mean? So we do work a lot in technology, whereas technologies, it's like this analog digital thing, because computers only do what you tell them to do. They're easy. People, that's hard. Now there's an interface between that analog and that digital. And so I think a lot of times there's this unrealistic expectations that, we just have our shit together more than we actually do.
Yeah.
Which also you carry that with you. I think that's a reason why a lot of people are afraid to make mistakes in our industry. It's like that's going to erode your credibility. The only way it would erode your credibility, or the only way it should erode your credibility, is if you denied the fact that you made the mistake.
Yep. Yes,
if you own it,
sir.
step up and show how this makes you a better person in the long run. We had that same discussion today, actually, about therapy, because I was talking to the CEO of FR Secure, John Harmon, about.
He sounds like a good dude.
He's a phenomenal fucking. All the managers, actually, everybody at FR Secure is phenomenal. We have some FR Secure people coming down on Saturday. I'm really excited about that. Melissa is coming with her husband and a bunch of other people. But anyway, we were talking about this like mental health and getting therapy, and how like there's just this counterculture shit. Like the stigma would say, well, you must be, and he used the word mental midget,
Interesting.
Getting therapy. Well, that's the stigma. That's not what we think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where the truth is, it should make you a mental fucking giant, because you're self-aware enough to recognize that you need help, that and the motivation for you doing it, I think, unless you're court ordered to do it, the motivation is because you want to be a better person. You want to be a better team player. You want to be a better husband. You want to be a better wife. And the thing is, like, you can't separate that shit from work, right? Because if you're having marital problems, I mean, obviously you have privacy things and HR things that you got to, play with, but I want somebody who's healthy.
I mean, that's why I got the tattoo that I got with, how the hell do I even do this? It's like sideways, like the semicolon here.
Yeah.
I want people to know that I'm open to having those conversations.
Good for you, man. We need more of that. We need more, I mean, these are people. The role, the responsibilities, those are just tasks that the people do. But what we really need to focus on more in the hiring problem are the people. These are people. So can this person provide value to the organization at a reasonable price? We don't copy job descriptions.
To grow. If they're not, are they willing to grow?
Right.
And if they're not, I mean, they have
fucking
to make that
questions
choice.
that are relevant to the damn job. I mean, I was talking to some of those couple dozen people about some of their experiences in the interviews that they've had. And granted, I'm only getting one side of the story, right? You always got to take that into account, right? I didn't actually hear what the logic or whatever, why they were asking these questions, but some of the questions are like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything here? You know what I mean? Because there's also, going back to the ego thing, there's a lot of ego in our industry. I remember job interviews that I've been in. It's been a long time, obviously, since I've applied for a job, but I remember in the early days, there was this guy who was quizzing me on the OSI model and just like looking for something that I didn't fucking know about networking. And when I finally came across something like, I don't, either you didn't ask that question right, or I don't know idea what the fuck you're talking about, And this was actually when I was when I got hired for US Bank. It was that interview, and he's like, "Well, let me tell you," because he finally found something that I didn't fucking know. It was like, because I think there's some of that maybe. Yeah. I think there's some of that too in our industry. Like,
I'm looking for this
ego.
There's one ego thing that pisses me off. I haven't seen as much of it anymore, probably because I unfollowed some people, but people were going around and they're at conferences and like, oh, they left their computer unlocked. They left it unlocked, and they're taking pictures and posting it like, well, you're just a fucking asshole. Why don't you just lock their computer for them, or chat them up? Why are you publicly trying to shame them? That's just a fucking dick thing.
Yeah. So anyway, I'll be writing about this in the. Did I tell you I'm writing on Security 2.0?
You did. Yeah, I'm excited.
This will be a chapter in that book.
It's gonna be on my new hires reading list every time, because awesome. I reference this quite a bit because logic just always prevails.
Well, and I think from our perspective, right? If there's something there that doesn't make sense or something you disagree with, speak the fuck up.
Let's chat about it. Yeah.
Yeah, because we don't want to create this. Because I think there's some of that in this industry, obviously, too, where we don't make people. We don't create a comfortable place for people to ask questions and challenge shit.
Because we just
do what we're told,
and
we just do what the hell we're told. All right, so we beat the hell out of that topic, the cybersecurity shortage. Tell me about your experience in the last job that you applied to. Would it be this one?
Yeah.
Did you have other interviews that you were doing at the same time? Or did you just like
I had a couple
got the job?
Phone interviews. So I had a couple phone interviews. I actually had an in-person interview for the position I'm in right now. But I got hired to be an analyst originally. No surprise. They couldn't find a manager that would work for whatever they were offering and the duties. So I worked my way into that. Yeah, so I was applying for.
You were the most valued at the cheapest price.
Well, yeah, everyone wants to get paid a lot. I'll take experience. Fuck yeah. Give it to me. I'll absorb.
Yeah. Yeah, I think seems like the right approach, man.
Yeah, I was applying for like 6 months, and yeah, it was weird because they said, no, we don't want you. And then the recruiter came back and said, oh, but there's this other position that just opened up, and they thought you'd be good for this one. Like, oh, well, now I'm good enough for you. I'm like, fuck you. But it all made sense in the end, because I was asking a lot of questions about growth and progression, and like that's really where I want to focus. So it was clear to me that was a path. So
that's one of the things I lack nowadays. You talk about perspective. I don't know what it's like to apply in this job market. I don't know what it's like to interview in this job market. And I was thinking about doing a project. I don't know if my wife will let me, or I don't know if it'd be healthy for me mentally. to create a persona and go out and start
Mhm.
applying for jobs
We've
and just
talked
going through
about
the
that,
interview
yeah.
process myself, so I can, not because I want to like gotcha, but just so I can understand what the fuck is broken here. You know, why do I keep hearing from so many people that they can't get a job in this industry, they can't break into this industry, and then on the other hand, I hear we've got 4 or 5 million open positions. It's like something
Let
ain't
me
making
tell you
sense here.
about 2 different experiences back to like this whole standard thing. I went to an in-person interview. It was probably an hour, but they sat a piece of paper in front of me, front and back, had a list of all their security tools. All right, check a box next to all the ones you know how to use. This is like over 100 tools. Who knows how to use that fucking many? So that ended up not working out.
Well,
then,
and it begs the question, why the fuck are you using 100 tools?
yeah, I mean, now I would go in there and say, yeah, let's rip half this shit out. um, then this other one I went to, it actually happened twice. It was a 4-hour interview, back to back to back with like different groups of people. Yeah, that's like intense. This is just like a regular level position. It's not like I'm a director or anything like that. And it was 4
Right.
hours. Insane.
Afraid to make mistakes, maybe. You know, whoever the
I
hiring
think that
manager is
those are the
isn't actually
ones where
empowered to make the hiring decision. Who knows?
they're looking for the perfect fit. I think like, okay, the senior leader has their vision for the culture, but then they want to make sure you can fit within the team, and then the hiring manager actually like wants you to do certain things, so it's like give everyone a crack at it. I don't know.
It's crazy. It's like your team, you know, the we've always like, you set expectations for a manager, a director on certain performance metrics, whatever, right? It's this collaborative, this is how we're going to define success together. You know, your team, you deliver, right, with your team. And so, like, who the fuck am I to tell you who you can and can't hire? You know, we've
Hey,
got specific, you know, we've got core values, which are non-negotiable. So fire, you know, I mean, you hire and fire by core values. You're supposed to anyway. So beyond core values, mission driven, it's your team. You know, I don't have the vision for your team. I have the vision for the company. There's lots of teams on in the company. I don't even know who the fuck they are. You
and
can't.
that's how it's supposed to be. Yeah,
Yeah.
you have other stuff
Because
to focus
I
on.
think a lot of people reach out to me knowing that, you know, I'm started FR Secure, and they're like, hey, I'm looking for a job. And I'm like, you know, I can tell somebody at FR Secure that you reached out to me because maybe it shows some initiative. But beyond that, I don't tell them who to hire. I don't tell them who to fire.
It's not your team, right?
Not my game, man. And you don't want me to play that fucking game because I'd be fitting all kinds of people in there that would just drive your team crazy.
You'd be planting fucking spies and shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk about bridging the gap, solutions
Bridging
and
the gap
strategies.
between,
Solutions or strategies, what people can do, what companies can do. Unless you had something else you want to talk about first.
no, it's, yeah, I mean, we covered a lot of problems. So it's going to be addressing those gaps, right? How do you fix them?
I have a couple of bullet points here we can probably talk about.
All right. Give me,
Rethinking how we're hiring,
yes.
embracing non-traditional pathways,
Yes.
investing in training, and
Yes.
then um, open discussion about broader changes needed, which I think we're having right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Okay.
totally, it's not, information security has never been a one size fits all solution. It's never going to be a one size fits all solution. So you're going to have to adapt. You know, if you're struggling hiring the right people, the right fit, yeah, rethink it all. You know, you're dealing with
That
people, and
includes the interview process, the job descriptions,
yes,
compensation. Now
yes,
the big thing is your remote policies. I mean, all the The youngers want to, they want what they want, but we have to
Yeah.
find a balance, I think.
Well, in your entry level roles, make them truly fucking entry level roles. Entry level means no experience.
Yeah.
It's how you enter into the market. And that's creating so much confusion for people that are trying to get in this market. Like, what do I need to do? How do I get there? Well, most of the entry level roles, or the roles that they're calling entry level, aren't entry level roles. You know, there are so many advantages to true entry level roles because I can cultivate them. I can make the expert that I need, as opposed to uncreating the expert that you thought you were. And then, I mean, it's such a pain in the ass. But that requires you to have proper planning. That requires you to understand the vision for what you want your team to be.
You have to have
understand.
a leader that wants to develop people. I've seen so many where they just get caught up in the day to day, and they're like, "I don't have any time." Like, well, you
They're
can
not a
get an
fucking leader.
intern.
That's not a
I don't
fucking
have
leader.
time for a lead.
That's
Yeah.
not a fucking leader. That's a manager.
Mm-hmm.
Leaders lead. Managers manage. So yeah, a true leader loves. All the good leaders that I know, we get more of a kick out of watching other people succeed than any fucking thing I've ever done in my fucking career. That's a leader. I mean, I love watching, my team do the shit that they do. And my name doesn't have to be associated with any of it. Most people don't know I did the CISSP mentor program. They just know FR Secure did it. Great. It is FR Secure. It's not about me. You know what I mean? Leaders just get the fuck out of the way. And there's not enough of that in this industry. The best CISOs I've met over the years have been exceptional leaders, not technologists. We do need a lot more leaders in this industry.
It kind of lost its way with the explosion of all the different tech, and you get to that, there's a list of 100 tools. Well, how are you going to lead people if you don't know how those tools work, right? It's a misconception.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and why the fuck why would you build your security program on the success or failure of a damn tool?
Yeah.
Tools change.
Come and go. Yeah.
I mean, a hammer's a fucking hammer. What I want is a carpenter who knows how to use the fucking hammer.
I'm still trying to figure out why we're back to, we call it XDR now, but I'm pretty sure it's just a fucking SIM. But we call it XDR SOAR. Pretty sure a log's a log, but I don't know. I might be crazy.
Don't even get me started on that shit. Yeah, I would, on most of the networks you see, I could do more work with, a Cisco 2400 router than you're doing with your fucking firewall, from the 1990s, because it's not the tools that are the problem. It's the proper use of the tools. I would, so yeah, that's another, you actually bring a really good point. I think that's another way you fix some of this is prioritize people over the tools.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was talking to a buddy today. We were talking about AI, and it was a great discussion because we were thinking outside of the box with AI, right? We both know how AI works, and so let's think of things like over reliance on AI. Because a lot of people are jumping quick to it, and then you think what the fuck happens if AI is not available to you?
I'm screwed.
If AI, yeah, there's lots of things that could go wrong here. And do you have somebody there that's going to be able to fix that? Somebody there that's going to be able to work on that? Because that's the thing with tools. Tools will only do what you kind of configured them or told them to do. What happens if we told them to do the wrong fucking thing? Or power goes out. I mean, shit, there's just so many things where you need the people part much more than the tool.
Yeah.
That's why I don't use hammers, because I hit my fucking thumb all the time. I'm not a good carpenter. But take somebody who's honest to admit. Take somebody who's honest to admit that. Yeah. So I think
So,
I like your
non
point. So the ones that I had from the blog post, just to write
Oh
realistic
yeah,
job descriptions, because this is in line with exactly what you said. Write realistic job descriptions, create true entry level roles, right? So you have to invest in training, growing your team, prioritize people over tools, address burnout.
mm-hmm.
The mental health part of this job is, I mean, fuck you have to keep people healthy. They're going to perform at their peak level when they're healthy. So address burnout and standardize roles and career paths. Show people the way to become what you actually want to be, right? And be honest with them when everybody wants to be a CISO. Not everybody, but too many people. It's like, why? Why do you want to be a CISO? If it's the right why, then I think I can get on board with that, and I can be honest with you and tell you what. If you,
You
I
can
don't
be
think that's
my
a good.
boss. Hell yeah,
I don't think
let's
that's a good
go.
career path potentially. You know. Anyway,
What
so
about
go back.
non-traditional pathways? So you mentioned earlier.
I have a
Oh,
fucking degree in geology for crying out loud. What the fuck is that?
so how do we get that communicated to HR, and then how do we get those people to know that this is a thing?
I think it comes down to the hiring manager. You know, I don't hire anymore, but when I was hiring, it was I have a specific thing that I need or a role that I need fulfilled with these specific responsibilities. And so I want, just like I would do in any other market, I want the best fit for the cheapest price. So if there's somebody who's doesn't have a college degree or whatever that can fulfill those things, then that's what I'll take. But I think in order to do that, don't we have to have some entry level positions?
You gotta train them. They can't just come cross deck and know what to do.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we've hired a lot of people that, like, take Meg, for instance. You know, Meg
Parent,
Perrin.
right? Yeah.
Perrin. She was in K-12. She was a high school principal or something like that. That's a non-traditional path. She signed up for the CVCISO course. She had all those intangibles, and I'm like, you can do the shit that I can't do. So I think you'd be a good fit. But then you have to defend that too, because you have a lot of people that have their
Opinions.
they have their own opinion, on what that role is supposed to be. So it's really important for I think any hiring manager to be crystal clear on what your role is, so you can tell those people to build your own fucking team, leave mine alone. So what other gaps do you have? What other address the gaps things do you have?
That was it. Other
All
than
right.
training, but that's kind of the same thing. And then just talking about it, which is what we're doing. Others should do it. Yep.
Yeah. Emulate people that you know in this industry that have built really good teams. That maybe there's a team that you've come across and you're like, I wish I had a team like that. Well, then engage. Because here's one thing that we didn't touch on from a supply side for people that are out there looking for jobs. Like, you can't underemphasize the importance of networking. You do need to network. You do need to get out of your comfort zone, even if you're an introvert, and go get to know people. Go to like Matt's ISSA, start talking to people. That'll go a long ways because it'll get you over the hurdle of that culture fit thing, the intangibles.
I'm gonna tell you, if when you go out and network, you need to present yourself the way you want to be presented. It doesn't mean you have to be in a suit. I like to wear one. Not
You
everyone
like to wear a
does.
suit?
For that, I do. Yeah.
Dude, I don't like you as much as I thought I did.
I don't wear a tie, but I like wearing a coat and stuff. It's a position. I'm in the Marine Corps. You have a uniform, you dress. It's like a whole thing. You present yourself for the occasion. So, like, basically, you have to understand your audience. So
Yeah.
If you're
There you
going
go.
to an event and there's like hiring managers or CISOs at this thing, don't show up wearing a hat, a hoodie, and pants looking like you just came from work. You might be
Yep.
comfortable, but you have to think about the message you're trying to send. And then you also always want to be ready. Have your resume on your phone because you never know. They might like your conversation and say, hey, give me your resume. And if you have it ready, that's going to set you up for success.
Yeah. The best job interview I ever had was at a restaurant, and uh, it was when I was hired for Jask software. We made Paint Shop Pro,
Hmm?
and it was pretty cutting edge stuff. But the hiring manager, who actually then became a mentor of mine, he explained to me what he wanted to accomplish, what he wanted to build, because it was purely a technical role at that point. Uh, and so he told me all the specifications and things that he wanted, and he gave me a napkin. And he said, "Show me, diagram what you would build."
Hmm.
I was like, "Oh, that's cool." So I diagrammed it out and showed him, and he was impressed because it wasn't the way he would have diagrammed it. And so he was like, "Why did you diagram it that way?" And I told him, and he was like, "Shit, I didn't think of that. That's cool." And that's what got me the job, was because I could demonstrate the value that I was going to provide. You know what I mean?
Sounds like you're talking about the movie The Intern. Have you seen that?
Uh,
Uh, um, Vince Vaughn and what's his name? Owen Wilson. You should check it out. It's about a Google internship. It's super
okay.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Similar thing though with like your experience.
Got me a job, and it was one of my favorite jobs of all time. It was a great, great job. I had a lot of opportunity to build a lot of really cool shit. Learned a lot. All right. Here's the thing now. Cybersecurity confessions, Matt. You ready to play cybersecurity confessions?
Not really, but I'm always ready.
All right.
Let's do
Well,
it.
you get to choose one of three things
Okay.
that you need to answer. The first is you can share your biggest cybersecurity fail,
Hmm.
or a ridiculous security myth that you once believed, or third, the worst security advice you ever gave or received. Which one do you want to choose?
There's way too many myths. I can't think of just one. Bad advice. I need to do some self-reflection. So I'll go with my worst blunder to date. I would say, oh, only because I know what the application does now. So at the time, I was working for a medical company, and I was managing this tool called Carbon Black Application Control. Everyone thinks about Carbon Black as EDR, but this was a totally different. It used to be Bit9, so I got trained and I was managing that. We were deploying it into their legacy environment, and we the leadership had a goal. Right, companies have goals, leaderships have goals. They had to get X amount of this deployed by the end of the year, and we weren't on track. So what they did was they lifted the goal and gave it to like a vice president, and he was like, "This gets done today." I was like, "Yeah, we didn't test this, right?" "I don't care." "Well, their goal leads to their bonus. Get it done today." It was like December 10th or something. I'm like, "Okay." So push the button, did the thing, and we totally crashed SAP. And 5 minutes later, they're like, "What'd you do?" Like, "Yeah, I did the thing. You need to fix it." Luckily, I had built a script to help automate doing these changes, and I had built-in logging for audit purposes just for this, so I could go back and see what I all changed, and then back it out, but broke it for the global company. Great stuff.
Yeah, that's That's interesting.
I didn't know what SAP was at the time, so I didn't think it was a big deal. But
You do now. You do now.
yeah.
When I think of these three things, like your biggest cybersecurity fail, a ridiculous security myth you once believed, the worst security advice you ever gave or received. I struggle with the last two, but man, I got so many fucking fails.
I think it's more fun to talk about the fail too.
Well, I'm a big believer. Break shit. You know, you talk about building your team. Failure isn't optional; it's mandatory. Go out there and fail and fix shit. You know what I mean? Worst case, you lose a customer, but I get, my team member is, so much better at serving the next, couple dozen customers. I mean, it takes it back to that investing in people thing, but, making them feel safe and comfortable to do that. And I think the reason why I'm safe, I do make that place safe and comfortable to do that is because that's how I learned.
I think people.
I
need
should
to
almost pick a
realize-
story for like every episode. Just pick a new story.
I won't be able to keep up with you, but I could go do some military stories. Yeah, it's still breaking.
We'll play cybersecurity confessions next week too.
All
But
right.
I'll give you one story. It's probably one of the earliest stories. And it was kind of a fail because I wasn't really working for anybody at the time. I was a little hacker. My parents were in tech.
We should put a cool transition image here. Cybersecurity confessions with
All right, you just
red
gave yourself a
light
job, my
music.
friend.
I have to figure out how to do that. Nice.
You do. But it was, so I was back then we did a lot of this shit, for bragging rights. It was almost more, if you ever saw the movie, some of those early hacker movies, was kind of like that. I mean, we just did shit. But one of the things everybody else had, 18.8, kilobits per second. That's how fast your modem was. The fastest really at the time. And I put together, I figured out a way with soldering, a lot of trial and error, a lot of stealing shit from my dad, how to multiplex those, multiple connections. The thing I was missing, and so it took a long time to build it because I had to do trial and error, right? Solder this circuit together. Fuck, that didn't work. It took a long time to build it. And for me, I needed 2 phone lines. I didn't have 2 phone lines. I couldn't tell my dad I needed 2 phone lines because I was hacking things I shouldn't be doing. So I ran a cable, ran it, Cat 1, Cat 2, whatever the fuck it was then, across my yard to my neighbor's house and, used his phone line. Well, in order for me to do that, you have to, I have to wait for them to go to bed, so it'd be like 11 some odd. Yeah, I don't know what time. It just changed every night. And a lot of trial and error. And then you finally get it to work. You're like, holy fuck. And now all my friends think I'm cool as shit. That was around, I was doing all kinds of stupid shit then. And so I had that going for probably, I don't know, every other night, every night for like a month or 2, maybe. And being that I had to do this late every night, I fell asleep. It was like a Friday night. And so I fell asleep and I woke up to my dad, not really beating my ass, but almost beating my ass.
Did
because
he poke you? So your dad was a Marine. Did he poke you with one finger or the knife hand?
Both. He was very fast at switching between them. But he ran over my cord in the yard and fucked up the lawnmower. Didn't really fuck it up, but enough. But he was really pissed off that, I was stealing from my neighbors. So that was one of the earliest fails that I remember. It's not the most sensational by far. I've taken down a lot over the years, but we'll do that. We'll do this story regularly. So maybe I'll work chronologically on the errors on the fails that I can remember.
Parse out in the brain.
Well, yeah, because I'll forget. Like, did I already cover this one? Because I already talked about a little bit taking down the defense contractor with the raid, with the drive switch. That was a fail.
Something I wanted to add about failing, but I can't. I spaced out on it. It's a bummer. It was like really
All right.
good
Well, next
too.
week we're going to play Cybersecurity Confessions, and you're going to create some kind of cool transition for us, and we can vote on whether this transition sucks or not.
Yeah.
Wait, no, on
It's
the
gonna be
positive
like a
side, we can
love
vote
thing.
on whether this transition is the best transition we've ever seen or not.
Yeah, there you go.
Does it sound like I have a cold?
It sounds like you're a little stuffy, but
I do
not
have a cold.
terrible.
I do have a cold. Cold or allergies, I can't tell the difference. But the weather here is 69
70
degrees.
and beautiful. I live in Mexico.
Yep, beautiful and lots
You want
of
to do some
hot chicks
hacker
everywhere.
whack?
Hacker whack? What do you got?
Smart vacuum cleaner was used to collect room layout data that
Yes.
criminals later used while planning a burglary.
Oh, fuck. No, that's whack.
Yeah.
Could
No
be done.
evidence. No evidence of this happening. It's a whack.
Yeah. When you said the burglars did it, then it was like, no. Tech people, maybe.
Yep. Smart doorbell camera hacked to steal Wi-Fi passwords.
Smart.
Vulnerability
Oh, yeah.
inside the doorbells allows them to steal Wi-Fi credentials.
Yeah. Attack.
Yep, it's a hack.
Is that it? You got more?
A couple, like, it keeps giving me the same ones all the time. Here.
Are
okay.
you chat GPTing this?
Yeah, because I'm
Okay.
lazy. Researchers found that electric scooter apps from Lime and this other one contain vulnerabilities that allow attackers to track users and remotely control scooters.
Whack.
That's a
You can't
hack.
control the scooter with it. How can you control the scooter with the app?
I don't know, but I definitely want to do it. There's a link to an article here. I have to.
You could definitely track. That wouldn't be hard, but
They did that for
controlling
that
the scooter,
dude
there's
that,
no control. There's no control function in the app for the scooter, is there?
I don't know, but I want to do it.
So why would you ever build that in your fucking app to begin with?
I wonder. So the app probably communicates to the scooter, which allows you to pivot, probably. And then there's a.
And maybe you can
vulnerability.
disable the scooter if somebody goes outside of a zone or some shit. And you can. Yeah, I don't know. Weird.
Yeah, that's weird. Cool as hell.
Yeah, it makes you wonder though what some of these guys have on. Like, how much time do you have in your fucking hands to do this shit? I used to have more time on my hands to do that stuff, but it was more out of curiosity. But shit, eventually you're just like, I got to make a living and help people.
Yeah, instead of breaking shit.
Yeah.
Digital photo frame sold at major retailers were found to contain pre-installed malware that helped spread ransomware. A digital photo frame. Apparently it's a hack.
Really?
It's confusing because we didn't really talk about ransomware in 2010, but it's a PC World article. Interesting.
Yep. Ransomware's been around since, I don't know, 90s.
The
for
80s,
sure.
right? Yeah.
They used to do it through the mail. You had to pay the ransom through the mail. Well, I told you my first paid job, right? It was my entry into this industry was truly entry level, but that was 1990. I mean, where the fuck are you going to find anybody who's, got other skills? But I mean, doing cybersecurity, like security stuff, it was cleaning the boot sector viruses off of Windows 3 machines. What
did that look like?
Tedious as fuck. It was essentially just establishing a new boot sector, but yeah. But I got to learn a lot about at that time because there were multiple boot sector viruses that were out at that time. So you got to learn drive geometry a lot better. You know, how magnetic drives were. Yeah. It became kind of forensics too. It was a really good opportunity to learn some basic stuff. And then from there was
Grow and prosper.
Windows shit. It was got my MCSE at some point in there. Became a system administrator, and then I didn't really like Windows even back then. So went to Cisco and learned all the Cisco shit, and then started teaching Cisco classes. They were paying so much fucking money back then.
I remembered my thing I was gonna say. I had to write it down this time about you know, break-in stuff or even IR. I always tell people you don't need to stress because people aren't dying. If you're in critical infrastructure, it could be the case, but there's a good chance no one's dying, so you don't need to like flip a bitch. And also, the bad thing has already happened, so you like just calm down. And I need people to remind me of this all the time because for me, I don't know, it's been 13 years already, but my body is still trained and it physically reacts differently. And I need to remind myself that those things are not in play.
Yeah, I mean,
tips.
Yeah, those are good tips, man. And what would you do if somebody did die?
Yeah, right. There's not much.
I mean, it's only a matter of time, and there are fringe cases where people will make the claim that people have died, but
the ransomware attacks in Germany, right?
I mean, dude, every application beyond Hello World has bugs. So your self-driving cars, your pacemakers, your telemetry devices. I mean, shit. There's lots of things to go out and hack. If I really want somebody to pay a fucking ransom, like let's say, some billionaire has a pacemaker, I'll take his pacemaker as ransom. Shit, there's a big payout for you.
I don't know why no one's made a botnet out of these hunting cams, trail cameras. They all hook up through cellular.
That could
now.
be fun.
Make a botnet out of that, and you could see like all kinds of weird shit going through the woods. Like I had this up. I had this up at my cousin's place, looking for deer and stuff, and someone was walking on his property. We caught him. It was like 10 o'clock at night. It looked like they were drunk and out streaking in the middle of the field, in the middle of this woods, in the middle of nowhere. Like how random? How is this even possible? So I imagine you might see some weird shit.
Oh,
or
yeah.
a Bigfoot or something.
I've seen some weird. Well, we're gonna have to do these stories again because I got some weird shit too. I don't know. They're not necessarily cybersecurity fails, but they're things that I've. And there's nothing special. It's just you've been around long enough to find yourself in weird spots. But there's certainly things that I've seen that I can't ever unsee.
Yeah.
Those are shitty things. For sure.
Don't go on the so-called dark web. You will see some shit you can't unsee. If you don't know.
God, yeah. Do you remember like Ogrish?
Yes. Faces of Death.
Yeah.
Similar.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. Good show, brother. We'll pick it up. What's next week? What are we talking about next week? Do you even know?
So I have.
Do I know? Does anybody fucking know?
Hold on, I have some things.
Oh, you got some things. What do you got, man?
Hold on, I accidentally closed it.
You got to be ready with your things if you're going to talk about your things.
Knock it off. Okay. So here is the call to action. Have you ever faced challenges breaking into the field or the industry? Share your experiences with us. Try using the hashtag InfoSec2Insanity, and we will help you. We want to hear your stories on the next episode.
All right. Yeah. So encouraging listeners to share your own experiences. I agree, man, because there's so much value in other people can relate to that and find strength in that. And, we already talked about
You're not alone. Yep.
no, and we're talking about people here. People, jobs, career, bills, families. So it's not just some quota shit. We're trying to just fill a job because whatever. You got to think of it that way and carry that weight. So I love that. Share your stories. And
So
next show,
episode,
I'll bring an email address because I have one,
Okay.
but I forgot what it was.
All right.
So that you can share there and we can bring it on the show.
Read them live. The next episode, the original sin, security was not built in. We'll talk about exploring foundational flaws in our digital infrastructure and what we can do about it.
Oh yeah.
Are we
That'll
going to
be
have
fun.
a guest for that one?
I don't know. Do you want to guess? Bring one.
I don't know.
I have to end the show though because I'm about ready to sneeze and I can't even hardly breathe right now.
Okay.
So
We'll
we're going to stop the show. See you next week.
See you
it's
guys.
Awesome. Yeah, dude, I'm gonna sneeze like a motherfucker. You see my eyes are getting all watery and shit. I gotta go